You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of Nostalgic Gaming Stories. Today's episode will be a little bit different in that we'll feature a guest today, Anthony Banchieri. I'll turn it over to him in just a moment. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've had him appear on Nostalgic Gaming Stories. He was also in the episode Gaming First, as was Rabid Waffles. Today we've just got Anthony, though, but we'll go ahead and turn it over to him, and then I'll come back on here after he's done.
In my gaming story, there are times that me and my brother used to play video games back in the day, and sometimes during our gaming, we'd make make up stories. And this is the first time that I'm ever telling anyone about this. But sometimes, if anyone remembers that video game Tony Hawk American Wasteland, which in my opinion was probably the best and last amazing Tony Hawk game. Not the last good one, but the last amazing one, but that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, you would have create a skater, and we created this character, me and my brother Daniel, this character named Mason. And Mason was sort of like this very, his skin was either really completely green or completely red. We kind of went back and forth with American Wasteland. He was very muscly and very, had a mohawk too. And we kind of would do stuff with this character. But then we had this really retarded idea. What if Mike Vallely was his brother? And we would play as the two characters, but we'd always kind of make up our own story. And, we would exchange dialogue together. We would always go to free play and play as the two characters. It's like Mike Vallely skateboarding in Hollywood, and Mason is, telling about a girlfriend or whatnot. They would go around and skating. Looking back, kind of weird to me how in Tony Hawk American Wasteland, there's basically no people around in free skate, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, the Mason character would be later made again in Tony Hawk Underground 2 as a character. Looking back, we would have made a... If I didn't have the PlayStation 2 iToy at the time, because if you don't know, Tony Hawk, there was a mode where you could, put your face on your character. I'm sure some of you probably know that. I don't know. But anyway, we would make up stories and characters based on Mike Vallely and this Mason character. And it was sort of, kind of fun, But, I don't know why we never recorded videos of it, but we thought it was sort of interesting how we'd make up stories like that. Also, now that I have this in my head, we would also sort of do the same thing with if anyone probably over the age of 20 probably knows this game, Lego Island. There's a game called Lego Island, and the main character, Pepper. Yeah, he was sort of, he was the kid of Lego Island. I'm not really going to explain it. You can Wikipedia it yourself, but there was another character called Papa Briccolini and Mama Briccolini who owned this pizza shop in Lego Island, specifically the first two games. I don't know. I think they may have appeared in the third one. I'm not sure. But anyway, I know for a fact it was mostly the first one that we played, and it was really fun because me and my brother would later end up acting out. I would be Papa Briccolini, and my brother would be Pepper, and we would kind of make funny situations. There's a part near it, you could go into the jukebox. It's Pepper wants to listen to rock, and Papa Briccolini was sort of this old school character who was want to listen to old music. So I would always try to fight with him, as our characters, between the two, and we just had a bunch of funny situations together. And also, at the time, I pretty much beat my brother in almost every fighting game, which, the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well, and not Legos, Star Wars Episode 3 for the PS3. I would always kick my brother's ass every time. And my brother always got pissed off that I beat him, because he would never beat me in a game. Flash forward 5 years later, he would play baseball games, and he kicked my ass in baseball games years later after I kicked his ass in fighting games. So it's kind of funny how that worked in a way. How he got better at baseball games, but I could never fucking beat him in anything, you know? So it was kind of funny with that situation, you know, how me and my brother would play games. We haven't played, you know, games in like such a long time, and I kind of miss that. My brother's really not into old school gaming anymore. He's more into like PS4, and I always think to myself, we should like get a two-player PS4 game so we could play two-player for old time's sake. But you know, until then, I'll always have the memories of when we used to play games together and sort of making up our own stories as we kind of went along. And going back to the Papa Piccolini and Pepper kind of thing, we would even do that in real life. So I kind of, you know, find that really interesting how that goes. But yeah, this is kind of like my story.
As far as that, I have some similar stories to those. Back when I was a kid, we used to have this TV VCR combo set up in the basement, and we had our original Xbox hooked up to it. And we'd play Halo 2 a lot. When we were playing Halo 2, we'd do 1v1s, but we'd do 50 kills, and we'd do random weapons on map, random weapons in our inventory, random vehicles on map. Basically everything random with 50 kills. Basically kind of like Action Sack or Fiesta, but on Halo 2. And when I was younger, I used to always beat both Snowman and Trevor, but when it came to Danny, I could never beat him, and I still never have to this day. Danny is unbeatable at Halo as far as I'm concerned. Granted, he's lost in a couple of flukes in 1v1s, but and not to anyone I know personally, just online, because he used to 1v1 people all the time, but as far as I'm concerned, he's borderline unbeatable. But other than that, on the TV we were playing it on, it was this old TV. We still have it in storage, actually, for some reason. The VCR doesn't work in it, and it actually didn't work in it at the time either. And it has a bunch of stickers on it we got from the dentist office that show like a toothbrush and like a smiling tooth and shit. We used to just do that, and that's how we would pass the time back then, because we didn't have Xbox Live, obviously. And Halo 2 was primarily the game we played, but we did play other games too. As far as that goes, your story about your Mason character being brothers with a real person actually kind of reminded me of something not entirely gaming related, but still a nostalgic story nonetheless. I used to play this game when I was a younger kid with my WWE/WWF action figures called WWE Adventures, where I would have these wrestling characters interacting with each other. It was really stupid because I didn't know the actual official backstories for a lot of the wrestlers, so I just made up my own. And I had all sorts of characters have love interests and brothers and things that they didn't actually have, just because. But it was still something that was fun to do. But other than that, I played a lot, you know, split screen, couch co-op, things like that back in the day, so that's definitely something that was really nostalgic for me as well. I never really played that the Lego Island game, but I am familiar with it. I do remember seeing commercials with it too. I remember the character Pepper was used in quite a few things, if I'm not mistaken, advertising and such. Anyway, that's all I really had to say, coupled with what Anthony had to say earlier. My story I know is a little bit shorter, but anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye, and you have a great day.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.